person who's complaining, blaming, making excuses, feel sorry for themselves, they're making themselves unhappy. There's nobody doing that to them. You say it's your ex? Okay, let's take your ex, let's put him in a straitjacket. Let's shoot him to the moon. Now what? No,
you're still holding on to it.
You're still thinking that way and feeling that way, and that person is no longer in your life. You're defined by that story, by that past event. Okay. The person's truly sincere and thinks there's something other than that emotion of resentment. What's on the other side of it? Am I willing to sit through it long enough? And no matter how much the pain is or what my body does, I'm going to sit this one out. I'm going to work with my body and keep bringing it back into the present moment. It's like training an animal. You keep doing it over and over again. You stay. I'm not getting up. I'm not eating. I'm not moving. We're going to keep lowering the volume. You keep reconditioning the body to a new mind. Sooner or later, it surrenders. It surrenders to a new mind. When that occurs, there's that liberation of energy, and energy moves into the heart, and you feel love for yourself. You feel a respect for yourself. You feel an honor for yourself. Something, you took your power back. You built your field. Something feels right. When we look at the data of people who do this, and we see their scans, their brain scans, or we see their HRV measurements, and they get good at this. We measure their oxytocin levels. Now, oxytocin is the love chemical, right? And it's made in the pituitary gland. It is the love chemical, causes us to bond, to connect, to unify. And when I showed the values of oxytocin levels with these people to scientists, they're sometimes 200 times above normal. Now, that's not a little love. That's a lot of love.
It's an explosion of love.
It's a lot of love. And so oxytocin signals nitric oxide, and nitric oxide signals another chemical called endothelial-derived relaxing factor. And that chemical causes the arteries in your heart and your lungs to literally open up, and blood flows into your heart, and your heart is filled with energy, just like when it engorges the sexual organs. There's an engorgement of blood in there, and it activates it with energy, and there's a mind that's created. It's a consciousness.
Wow.
Now, this one opens up. It's a whole different consciousness. In fact, the research on oxytocin shows that the slightest elevation in oxytocin, it's impossible to hold a grudge. It's impossible. You say, dude, I feel so good. Like, I'm good. Like, no, I'm good. I'm really good.
Oh.
Now, that kind of state means I don't want to feel anything else but this. So I am not going to compromise myself or my energy to a lower denominator just because of you. In fact, I'm really good around you. I'm really okay. I feel so good. I don't want to judge you because I don't want to lose this feeling.
Right.
So then imagine being around a cat like that. Being around a person like that, that's really easy to be around because they're okay with themselves. And when they're okay with themselves, they relate with people differently. In fact, they relate with them unconditionally. They just love them unconditionally, and that causes an attraction. It causes a bond, right? So one of the things I learned last year in watching people, in this work and week-long events, I do my best to pay really close attention. Looked out at an audience one day, and I looked out in the room. We just finished a walking meditation. Everybody sat down, and I kind of glanced around the room, and everybody had this radiant smile. And I said to them, hey, who's making you happy, by the way? Who's making you happy? There's nobody doing that to you.
Yeah.
You're doing that to you. You're making yourself, you're not relying on anybody in your life to do that. Now, that is an attractive energy. That's the person who relates well with money. There's a relationship with money. They relate well with people. They're very giving. They're very caring. They want nothing in return. They're more present because that's who they're practicing being. And so there's a natural affinity, a natural attraction because the person is really present and they're really okay. And something is different about them. Something is unique about them. So the relationship we have with people, when we're in that state where we're really okay with ourselves, so we've made ourselves happy, we're really happy with ourselves, allows us to love we'll find beauty through the lens of love in anything and no one else sees it, right? Getting there is the overcoming process. That is what creates self-love. Now, to be very clear, I think many people, and I think I'll include myself, we confuse pleasure with love. And it's not the same thing.
What's the difference?
Well, pleasure is doing something that makes you feel good, but has nothing to do with love. Love has everything to do with something that you feel independent of pleasure. When you overcome yourself and you arrive at your goal, you reach your dream, you never give up on yourself. You had hard moments, you fell to your knees, you brushed yourself up, you got up, and you showed up again for yourself. It's amazing to watch this. I watch it at week-long events. I watch people literally change in 7 days, and they showed up when they said, I'm too tired, I have a handicap, I have a disease, I don't understand how rough my past is, I'm an addict, I was in jail, my mother was abusive, they showed up in spite of I'm too old, whatever that is. You keep showing up for yourself, you start feeling really worthy to receive. And the universe only gives us what we think we're worthy of receiving, right? So when you're in love, you're in a whole lot less lack. And if you're in a whole lot less lack, in a sense, you're moving closer to source. And that's a really good feeling. So practice that every day. Practice that every day in your relationships with people, your relationship with your body, your relationship with money, your relationship with your phone, your relationship with your car, your relationship with everything would be different.
Yes.
And so the overcoming process is the becoming process. You make yourself happy. You no longer need anybody to do that for you. You have a person in your life who is conscious that wants to make themselves happy and share their joy and their love with somebody.
Yes.
Well, you have something really unique. It's really special. And love is a very bonding chemical. It's a very bonding energy, right? If you look at oxytocin levels in mammals, you typically see it when the female has just given birth and she's grooming the offspring and she's touching it and licking it and nudging it and taking care of it. There's oxytocin levels are released through the limbic brain, through the midbrain. That's the bonding brain. They're smelling, they're connecting, and they're attracting one another. It's creating a connection. Honeymoon stage of relationship where there's a lot of intense connection, a lot of intimacy, releases oxytocin, creates monogamy, it creates a bond, it creates unity, creates connection, right? So show the values to some of the scientists and some of my colleagues, and they see oxytocin levels 200 times normal. They're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what is going on? Is it couples week? What is going on here? And I say the same thing. I say, number one, I want people to fall in love with their future, just like they fall in love with another person, because then if they do, they're bonded to that future, just like they're bonded to another person. Secondly, if you truly, truly want to connect to pure love, to source, to singularity, to oneness, to wholeness, to the fertile void, to vacuum energy, whatever you want to call that, universal intelligence, that's pure consciousness, that's pure love. If you hit that moment where you hit connection, you will feel that arousal of love. It'll be profoundly memorable for you, and it's not chemical, it's electric. It's very electric.
Wow.
So you get a few of those, it becomes you, and you become it. And so your love for the divine, your love for the mystical, your love for the unseen, your love for source, the love affair begins. And it's like being in love. No one can tell you're in love, you just know it. And it gets really hard to miss a date. Imagine you go and connect every day, and you start your day from that place. That's a relationship. That's a relationship with the world that you're bringing. So I think the overcoming process is part of it. I think it's practicing getting to that place. I think it's practicing opening our hearts more, moving out of survival, working with our bodies. In survival, it's not a time to love. No. It's not a time to communicate. So you're in a relationship that's built on emotions other than love, there's going to be a limit to love, right? And so you got betrayed, someone else got betrayed, you get together, talk about your betrayal, work yourself up into a froth, feel the emotions, get emotional agreement, get a connection. You're connecting the same energy, the same emotion, because you're sharing the same information, you're sharing the same memories, and you can relate with one another. That's a certain level of consciousness. You're okay without anybody. That's when it gets really good.
That's powerful. When you don't need it.
Well, because you don't need anything.
Because you feel whole.
Exactly. Now I call that the natural state of being. That's why we practice so much, relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain, because there are so many biological changes